Good morning and welcome to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Thursday. Welcome to the month of June. Hurricane season has begun, officially anyway. Those things can pop up anytime, but generally they pop up between now and November. So get ready and be ready to batten down the hatches. Now's the time to prepare and not when the storm's coming.
Agreed, Bill. Yep, it's never too early to be prepared.
Mm-mm.
And I will tell you, so one thing that I'm really excited about that broke yesterday is that the state convention is next week, and Kari Lake is actually going to be speaking at the victory dinner. Originally, it was supposed to be Mike Pence, which I was not. For me, it wasn't super exciting to see Mike Pence, but, for other people, it probably was. But he is announcing his presidential run, which I think is ridiculous that they pre-announced the announcement for the announcement. Doesn't it kind of kill the...
Yeah, that just sort of takes care of it, yeah.
So he's doing that next week instead. So we got Kari Lake, which I think was an upgrade. So I'm excited.
Yeah, there you go. And that's going to be when and where?
That is Friday, June 9th, and that is going to be in Columbus, Georgia. If you don't have a ticket, it is sold out. So yeah,
and don't worry. I spent a week in Columbus one day, so you can enjoy that. but with hurricane season underway, by the way, around here, we have been extremely fortunate over the last almost half century of not having too many storms hit us. We had 1979, which when David came ashore, it was supposed to come ashore at about 125 miles an hour. Fortunately, it came home at about 80. And even then, it did a lot of damage, but it also got us more prepared for the next one because we had so many problems that David pointed out to us. Not only just the debris laying around and how quickly some people were without power for a month or two, and it was Savannah Electric at the time before it's now Georgia Power, and actually Savannah Electric came up with a plan that has been used nationwide now of getting other power companies to get together and come into town and help out. So when Matthew came about 7 or 8 years ago now. We were a lot better prepared. I think most people were without power. They might have been out for a week or two, but certainly not much longer than that. Debris was cleared up almost immediately. It was just a well-oiled machine, thanks to what Savannah Electric and what their research did after David hit us. So I can only imagine at 80 miles an hour. I can only imagine if it had really been 125, but they expected how bad it really could have been. Nevertheless, the time now is to be prepared, and there are a lot of things that you can do, and we'll tell you more as time gets a little bit closer.
Yes, and we'll be reporting on any hurricane coming our way. Savannah has been very lucky, I would say, in the hurricane department. So
yeah, we have, at least in the last half century or so, because back in the late 1800s, we got clobbered with one.
Well, I will tell you, I feel way better about being in a hurricane zone. I know that sounds crazy, but like in Utah, you have no warning. If an earthquake hits, which I had my first earthquake in 2020, it was bizarre. One of the scariest things because you don't really know what to do. And at the time we lived in a townhome with no real place to hide or be protected.
Yeah, I was just going to say, with a hurricane, you've got plenty of warning. Yep. You can get the heck out of the way.
Yep.
With an earthquake, there's no place to go. You don't know when it's going to start. You don't know when it's going to be over.
Yep. And it's
that's got to be terrifying.
Tell you, yes, the earthquake thing was very terrifying. I would say you have plenty of warning with a hurricane, so but earthquakes are nothing to mess around with. And I went through 2 in 2020 because then I went to Puerto Rico and they had earthquakes, so it was an interesting year.
Okay. Well,
only for COVID, but
maybe you ought to move, Britt.
I know. Hey,
you're bringing them with you. Eh?
Hey, no, it wasn't me. It was someone else.
I know. Okay.
But anyways, but I lived in Utah pretty much my whole life, and we'd never had an earthquake until 2020, which happened to be the day after we were sent home from the virus. So we went home, and that very next day, there was an earthquake.
Boom, baby.
Welcome to your home office with earthquakes. It was very interesting.
Well, for sure. Also, another story coming out today that our economy is slowing down here in Savannah. According to Georgia Southern University's Regional Economic Monitor, the first quarter of this year, the report says Savannah port traffic has slowed, and connection and construction permits for new area homes were down 7% from a year ago. And Brittany, this is a thing that I don't particularly understand, is the biggest demand there are now for homes. My wife does property management, and business is booming. And a lot of people think that, okay, I'm going to sell my home. You can get premium dollar for it now. I had some friends that lived at Hilton Head, and they got a house about 8 or 10 years ago for $800,000. All right, they were offered just recently over $1.5 million for it. And they were like, boy, this is going to be great. And then they started looking around. Where am I going to? If I sell this one, where am I going now?
Yep, you can't afford to go anywhere else. So it's like, just keep the house you have. I also think it's interesting looking at it. There are some businesses that are, could be doing really, really well, but they don't have employees. So I think even in construction, they're really struggling to find crews to get stuff done. So, I know a builder, and I was talking to him last night, and he's like, I'm busy. He's like, but it's really hard to find crews, but everyone wants me to do their house, but you can't find subs for it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know.
So it's a very difficult situation that we're in. People not working, not being skilled. The economy's slowing down, but yet there's still like these weird pockets where people are doing really well, but they're also stunted because they don't have the employment. It's a very weird situation we're in.
Yeah, and here we are building that plan to build coal burners, those environmentally damaging electric cars that Hyundai is going to be producing here, and they need 8,400 employees for that. Then there's another, they have the battery supplies and everything else that are going to be nearby, and they're going to need another 8,000 or more. They're going to be needed for that. Dr. Michael Toma is an economic professor at Georgia Southern University, and he said the big headline is that the economy continues to slow and grow at its slowest pace in the first quarter of this year since exiting the pandemic recession. He also says the U.S. economy is likely going to experience a recession in the half of this year. And we're going to be talking to Travis Chance about this in the next segment. And he is actually predicting the opposite. He doesn't think we're going to have a recession, or at least it's going to be very mild. But you'll be hearing from Travis here in just a few minutes. But despite the projected slow economic slowdown, Toma says that the investments in port upgrades, as well as hiring at Hyundai and other logistics plants, could help the area sidestep any of the big impacts. And he said the speed at which those entities, Hyundai and other suppliers, hire in the back half of this year is really going to contribute a lot to whether or not we just are going to be okay this year or better than okay. And the report says that the area's tourism industry led the region into modest growth, with hotel and vacation rental tax receipts up 5.2%. And one of the advantages that we have here is that it is a tourist destination, and that hasn't had shown any slowing down.
Well, so Savannah's a good place to go. People love it. People love it. Bill, they voted yes on that debt bill yesterday, and I am so disappointed. And I wonder if that will also trigger some of the stuff within the economy. I think when you're putting $4 trillion, you're raising the debt ceiling $4 trillion for the next, 2 years, which puts it out of the presidential cycle, which I don't know why any Republican would allow that to happen. I'm very disappointed in everyone that voted for that. And, sometimes I question Nancy Mace, but I was really impressed that she voted no. Our representative here, Betty Carter, did not. He voted yes for it, and I don't know how he can justify raising the debt limit and still not doing what they said they were going to do, which was hold the government accountable. That was part of their, promise to America, or their, whatever they said it was. I feel like it was, there wasn't a lot of substance to it, and they're not really living up to that. And there's no accountability for the government. And there's also, those 87,000 IRS agents, they're not cut. So what did we get out of the deal? For me, not a whole lot.
Well, one of the things that they said, because Newt Gingrich was in favor of this and said, this is how he did it originally back in the early 80s when they took over for the first time in 40 years, and the Republicans, that is, and said that this is a first step. We got a little bit of what we wanted this time, and then we'll get more as time comes along, and they're looking forward to taking over the Senate and the White House again.
So do you know what we got?
No.
I was going to say, I haven't seen one thing that we received. I see a lot of, it originally did not pass, but then there were Democrats that went and changed their vote, so it did pass. So that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, more Democrats voted for it than Republicans did.
Yes, and that's how they knew they were going to win getting this bill passed. But and I, while I respect Newt Gingrich, we are not in the situation that we're in now. We don't have the manufacturing to produce to be able to really make up for anything. And we keep spending this money. We're not as stable as we were in the 80s as far as workforce and different things like that. We have more people living on the government than ever before. This is a disaster. Like, I don't know what we're doing. And it's not the government that pays this. It's the taxpayer. Most taxpayers are done paying the bills of the government. Mm-hmm. They're very irresponsible.
Well, those who were in favor of it seem to think that it gives us some sort of leverage for the next one, and that we'll somehow compensate from that angle. But this thing about what bothers me about the Republicans is that they are not on board all the time like the Democrats are. When the Democrats had, what was the last Congress had? They had a slim majority, and what did they do with it? They impeached the president twice. Something has never been done in history, and they had a very, very slim majority in the Congress, and yet they continued to act like they were in charge of everything, and they acted that way, and they passed legislation that way, and they went over and did all and wasted the taxpayer money on these ridiculous impeachment proceedings that they had that cost us billions of dollars, and then of course they used January the 6th as the leverage for it all, and may still have get President Trump arrested at some point. It is disgusting that the Republicans don't have the same sort of way of street fighting. And I hear this excuse all the time that, well, we only had a little narrow margin. We only have a slim majority of 7%, as opposed to around the rest of because we don't have the White House and we don't have the Senate. Well, when you had the White House and the Senate, you didn't do it either.
Well, that's the other thing, Bill. Winning is in a millisecond, right? Mm-hmm. When you run a race, you win by a millisecond. It doesn't matter how much you win, you still win. And the thing that bothers me about this, the debt ceiling stuff, Bill, Republicans do not believe in spending this kind of money. We have not reeled it in. They had an opportunity to do so and leverage the power of the purse, and they didn't do it. Mm-hmm. And this helps the Democrats in the 2024 presidential election.
Exactly.
Why on earth would we do this?
Yeah, because this is put off until 2025.
It sure is.
So that's after the election, if you look at the calendar properly.
Well, that's the thing. They don't use leverage. Kevin McCarthy I'm very disappointed because they also did this deal on a holiday weekend when they sent everyone else home. That shouldn't have happened. Kevin McCarthy, I was pretty impressed with him until this point, and now we'll see how it goes for him as the speaker. I think it's going to be much more difficult for him to gain the trust of the Republicans.
Well, the thing is that the Democrats, once again, this is how they played their hand, is that they knew that this was going to be that this is how they were going to play it out when the president wouldn't come to the table for over 100 days. Mm-hmm. Had almost 4 months to get this done, and there wasn't a single negotiation at all.
Well, and really, was there a deadline? I don't think that there.
No,
I think that
all this nonsense, all this terror tactics
that they fear mongering.
Yeah,
they
take all the time and say, "Oh, we won't be able to pay our debts for the first time in history." That's hogwash.
It's ridiculous.
It really is. No.
Well, and our friend Lizzie Warren says there won't be a recession because the definition has been changed. Mm-hmm. Just words, and she put Obama.
Yeah. So, but maybe the recession will be acting as a.
It'll identify as something else, right?
Yes, yeah. It'll identify as progress.
Yes.
All right. Well, we'll talk to Travis Chance about this coming up next on Get Real America. Stick around. At Get Real America, we are focused on Savannah, but we'd like to hear from other communities as well. We have a lot in common.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934, with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance. With integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
Come join us today at Sweet Potatoes Kitchen for some of that good Southern home cooking, like fried chicken, fish, and mouth-watering banana pudding. Say it's the best in the world, and you won't get an argument from me. Also, those vegetables are fresh and delicious. Voted Southside's best restaurant in Savannah at least 5 times, and large corporate parties are welcome. Tell them Bill Edwards sent you. Drop by and eat today. Everybody loves sweet potatoes. Welcome back to Get Real America. Once again, time to talk to our good buddy Travis Chance of CFG Wealth Management. Find out what's going on in the stock market and why you should not panic the way the media wants you to. Travis, that seems to be what the general feeling is these days. That we hear all this crisis talk. That if we don't pass this debt ceiling thing, that we're going to default for the first time on our obligations. We're never going to be able to recover. This will send us into a tailspin, and the market will crash, and it'll be worse than the Great Depression.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Nothing sells like fear and greed.
Yeah.
It's and you and I both know this. Our media has become so polarized. It's it's almost to the point of just being laughable because I miss the days. I know you and I've talked about it. I miss the days of Walter Cronkite. He comes on, he gives you 30 minutes, tells you what it is, what it was, what it will be, and it's done. And now we have, how can we scare the viewers into viewing an extra 30 minutes? And it's laughable, but it's sad at the same time. Yeah, the debt ceiling, I think it's all but done. I mean, you and I, we talked about this offline as well as online. The debt ceiling's all but done. That money's already spent. We have to pay our bills. There's no way around it. You can't charge your credit card and then all of a sudden call Amex and say, "Hey, I'm not paying this month." Well, it doesn't work that way. I do think there was a lot more to do made about the fact that the Republicans were trying to use it to get some of their way, and the Democrats didn't want to give any. And at the end of the day, actually, government worked. I'm not going to say this often, but I'll give credit where credit's due. The government worked. You've got a far right portion that they're not going to support it, and they're going to be calling for McCarthy's head. You've got a far left that are basically saying Biden gave in and he gave up the farm. And then now you've got the swath in the middle that's probably going to vote this thing in. So good, bad, or indifferent. I'm not saying it's a huge windfall for the American people, but I do think it's going to keep us from playing chicken with something that we don't need to play with. And I don't think it's going to be the end of the world. I think business will go on as usual, and we've definitely got other fish to fry now with the Fed and the probability of a new rate hike. So I'm not saying that there's nothing to worry about. I'm just saying I wouldn't worry about that.
Yeah, for sure. Travis, one of the things that we keep worrying about is that speaking of the Fed, is that keep printing money, and with the money supply as it is, there is only a finite amount at one point. We're not the gold standard anymore, unfortunately, and so that is going to keep driving prices up with all this extra money hanging around that we really don't have.
Right. Yeah, and Bill, unfortunately, we've been a victim of our own circumstance. We've enjoyed for 15 years, the money supply growing, printing presses running nonstop, interest rates at all-time lows, and for a decade and a half, it was just business as usual. I mean, coming out of the correction in 2008, the great financial crisis. Uh, Essentially, we gave the patient medicine, and it was like, oh, he recovered. Well, it makes him feel good, so we're going to keep giving it to him. And now it's just creating a problem that we can't mask. So um, the 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 bad part that comes with the only way to fix what you just described is when you start shrinking the monetary supply, you start shrinking the M2, and you actually start to raise interest rates, which is what we've been doing. That's the reason why we have markets like we've had over the last 18, 24 months is when markets are easing scenario, they're usually going to perform much better. And what we've seen, we obviously have seen that markets don't like it. So there is a fix. I mean, we are gonna, from what we've seen, we are going to continue to withdraw funds out of the economy, shrinking the monetary supply. Actually, it shrank almost 2% before what was it? Before the banking issue back in February. So, I mean, but you saw the turmoil that happened last year because of that, or one part of that at least. So we do have to take our medicine. Unfortunately, this time it's not gonna taste good. It's not gonna be good going down, but it's got to happen, and I think they will. I think we're on the path. We can shrink the money supply. I think if we were to have started to do this back in 2010, 2011 versus waiting and letting it grow to the problem it is right now, we probably wouldn't have had a whole lot of issue. But this is going to take some time to recover from, and the days of 20-30% rips on the S&P that people were accustomed to, probably not gonna be the case going forward. So we have to set new expectations, not old expectations.
Well, it's interesting because the Dalai Lama even talked about not kicking the can down the road anymore. And like you said, if we don't, but government doesn't seem to work that way these days. We just like the President Biden has waited 100 days since he said he was going to make a deal with McCarthy, and then we come Memorial Day weekend, and it just has to be done tomorrow, or the whole damn thing's going to come down like a house of cards. And the thing about it that I enjoy about talking to people like you, Travis, is you understand the markets, you understand the stocks and the bonds and everything, and how to put money in safe places where you don't lose money or you lose as little as possible. There are people, as the old saying goes, make money in bear markets as well as in bull markets.
Yep. Bears make money, bulls make money, pigs get slaughtered.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things where and you and I've had this conversation recently. It's about the risk reward. I mean, one of the good things, and let's face it, Bill, we have to understand and know that there's always good and always bad. So let's try to mine out some of the good gems. We now have seen, money market rates, stable value funds, short-term treasury ETFs. We've seen the ability to get back into that modest 4, 5, 6% rate of return that is maybe not completely 100% risk-free, but just about it. So we've been able to definitely start de-risking on some of our fixed income, start getting some really good returns for the risk we're taking. Risk reward is very good. Stocks there's gonna be some areas where we can make a lot of money in. There's gonna be some areas that are gonna lag. Cyclicals, materials, industrials, financials. They've really gotten hurt first part of this year because of the banking crisis, because of some of the other extenuating circumstances. But there again, tech is booming. So there's always a place to make money. We just got to find out what it is. To borrow from my friend Charles Payne on Fox Business, I don't want to steal. I want to give him credit. There's always a way to make money. We just got to find out what that is.
And the banks, so once again, your money is safe. You're not going to be worried about the bank, this domino effect that they keep trying to push down our throats.
No, sir. You and I, we've talked about this on here a few times. We talked about it privately a few times. So my position still remains. Banks are institutions that they don't. A lot of them don't run on a huge profit margin. I mean, I know a lot of people like to demonize them and say that they are the the big bad four, JP Morgan, Citigroup, Wells Fargo, they're going to run the world. They don't. For the most part, most people you still utilize and still have their money in the regionals, the small, the mid versus the large banks. Some people do use JP Morgan, but a lot of people use, and not to promote them, like First Chatham or Fifth Third or South State. I mean, these are great institutions. They have good balance sheets from everything that I've read. I really don't see there being a huge issue for most people. Now, that being said, and this is something that we need to think about, if you have a fiduciary liability or responsibility as a business owner, then yeah, you have to plan for that 250 or that FDIC threshold. But most people, Bill, they don't fall into that category. So and just because most people don't keep that in their checking account, you might have $1 million in your 401k, but how often are you keeping $250,000 in your checking account? Probably not a large percentage of the time. So I just think we need to keep everything in perspective. And yes, the bad part about periods like this is when these volatile periods happen, when these ups and downs occur, we see people come out of the woodwork, and like we talked about, I've predicted 17 of the last 18 recessions to a 1% certainty. No, you haven't. But it's always easy to say that someone did and prove. It's hard to prove they didn't. All these emails going around, these videos, get your money out of this, put it in that. That's where people make mistakes, and that's what we don't want. We want people to make an educated decision. So that's probably the best course of action for most of your listeners and most of our listeners.
Indeed. All right, Travis, where do people go for more information? And if they want to go to one of your classes, what?
Absolutely, Bill. They can actually give us a call at 877-269-0839. We can give them more information, or they can visit our website at chancefinancialgroup.com, look at our calendar, see what classes we have coming available. We actually have one coming up pretty soon, so they can always reach out there as well, and we'd love to see them. Love to give them some good information, let them make an educated decision about their finances.
Indeed. All right, Travis, talk to you again next week. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Bill. Have a good one.
At Get Real America, we want to make sure that the real story gets out, and you can help us as a sponsor or as an advertiser to make sure that word does get out to the community.
Be a sponsor and support your local community here at Get Real America.
I don't think it's an accident that I ended up writing music for a living, because I think I lived in a house where I saw how deeply it affected everyone in the house. And just how much everyone defined themselves by the music they listened to.
Music as a framework, I think, gave my parents my identity from a young age. You can like any music that you want if it makes you feel happy. And now when I hear certain songs, I think of them, and I think of them in their happiest state, and it makes me happy.
If they seem like they're having trouble talking about something, I try to tell them about a time when I felt something similar.
Whatever the issue was, we would tell them the pros and cons and how important it was, and that they had come to us because we could always help them. I think the real important point, we always told them, no matter what you do, no matter what happens, we will help you through it no matter what it is.
Come join us today at Sweet Potatoes Kitchen for some of that good Southern home cooking, like fried chicken, fish, and mouth-watering banana pudding. Say it's the best in the world, and you won't get an argument from me. Also, those vegetables are fresh and delicious. Voted Southside's best restaurant in Savannah at least 5 times, and large corporate parties are welcome. Tell them Bill Edwards sent you. Drop by and eat today. Everybody loves sweet potatoes.
serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934, with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance, with integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
Welcome back to Get Real America. Time once again to talk about what's going on in the air and on the ground, taking care of the air. And that is Jay Ratliff, aviation analyst, with us here this morning. And Jay, we got Memorial Day in the rearview mirror. It turned out to be pretty good, didn't it?
It did. In fact, you can go to Google TSA numbers. You can Google that, and you'll actually see a chart that the TSA provides on a daily basis showing the number of people that they have screened. And what we're seeing is many people flying now as we did pre-pandemic. In fact, some days more than what was pre-pandemic. So certainly we're off to a good start. We have 101 days of summer travel, Memorial Day to Labor Day. All we need is good weather, nobody calling in sick, and no IT issues. And I think we'll be able to get through the summer okay.
Okay. It's that simple.
I mean, other than that, yeah, but it's going to be an interesting summer, pal.
It is. American Airlines back in the news. Apparently, the crew has decided to reserve their own overhead space. As a matter of fact, and they did it professionally. Had it professionally done using a Sharpie. I understand.
You know, I saw that and I thought I would love to be in the corporate office when this picture surfaces because, of course, we know flight attendants board before anybody else. They'll get their bags in first class put away. They'll put their bags back in the back of the aircraft in an overhead storage compartment, and then passengers board. Mm-hmm. Well, apparently, this American crew that was flying from San Francisco to New York did not want to share their bin space, or it was full, I don't know which. So yeah, they pulled out the Sharpie, and they actually put crew above row 22 on both sides of the aisle, as in, do not open this, crew, it's ours. And it was in Sharpie. I mean, why didn't you use crayon to make it look more professional? I mean, it looks horrible. It looks tacky. It looks unprofessional. And the idea that somebody would do that, I don't think, American management's going to have a lot of, shall we say, sympathy for this, because I can't believe that they did it. But yeah, it's all theirs. Leave my stuff alone.
Oh, I was just going to say, they should have asked if anybody on board that was a calligrapher, and at least kind of put it up fancy.
Well, I mean, at least they spelled the word crew right, so we've got to give them that credit. But other than that, I thought when I was reading this, what would have really been funny, and you and I share the same sense of humor. Wouldn't it be fun if a passenger did that just as a joke? Oh, yes. Just to see what would happen? Just because they're bored and they want to see what happens if they... Now, certainly I'm not suggesting anyone do such a thing, but I'm thinking how fun it would have been for somebody to have done that just to see what would happen. But I'm pretty sure it was the crew that did it.
My next flight, I'm going to put Bill and Pam above the.
Hey, I'm surprised airlines don't rent that space. If I'm running an airline, I'm telling my folks, find a way to rent that space. Find a way to secure, because look, the idea is the space underneath your seat is for your carry-on bag. If you want anything more than that, you're going to have to pay for it. And I know people hate me, and I'm sorry, stop screaming at your radio, but I'm saying that airlines look for ways to increase their ancillary fares. They look for ways to charge us more money. They look for ways to squeeze more pennies out of us. And as a result, what takes place is if they can find a way to do that, I guarantee you, my friend, they're going to do that.
Oh yeah, don't give me any ideas though, Jay. That's all.
Well, I mean, we can give them a bunch. Not that they've ever listened to me over the last 30 years, but we'll see.
Well, Air New Zealand has started weighing passengers now prior to a flight. Do I understand that correctly?
That is, and that's the headline. But they do it every few years. One of the things that Air New Zealand, or actually the New Zealand Civil Avionics Board, or whatever they're called over there, they want to have accurate weights that they use for their weight and balance. And in the United States, the Federal Aviation Administration gives us averages. The average summer weight of a passenger in bags is X. During the summer, it's this. The winter, it's that. So we've got averages, but they want to make sure that their averages are accurate. So between now and I think July 2nd, out of the Auckland airport, they're going to be weighing passengers as they check in at the ticket counter or the gate. And the thought process is nobody's going to see the weight. The passengers aren't going to see it, nor will anybody at the counter. But the thought is they're going to accumulate these weights over the next 5-6 weeks to determine if their averages are still in line with reality. Because in aviation, nothing is more critical than weight and balance. So the thought is we want to have the most updated records as far as information as we can. And they do this every so often. I think they were scheduled to do this in 2020 and the pandemic got in the way. So they're doing it now. But we see this frequently where every so often they'll check the weights and go from there. So yeah, it's nothing like you're going to step on it and got a big fish scale over your head that's going to show how much you weigh. So no worries about that.
Only doing it on international flights, though, is that right?
Only international flights and only out of the Auckland airport. Exactly.
Okay. All right. And Jay, that apropos nothing, but could have something. Are they really going to approve this guy for the new FAA director who doesn't know what an airplane is? Have you seen this?
If history is any indication, probably. I mean, they look at management experience and they're saying, okay, if this guy's got any transportation background, even if it's in something other than aviation, we will look at giving him the nod. But the problem is really the fact that the Federal Aviation Administration is the top. It's a revolving door. I think on average, the head of the FAA, the chief, sticks around for like 12 months, 18 months, 14 months. So the thought is they can never establish any sustained leadership in a certain direction for any length of time. So what happens is all of a sudden you have these people that are leaving before the agency really is got any traction as far as the direction they're going. And I don't care what company it is. If you have a company that constantly has a change at the top, you're not going to accomplish much. And that's exactly what we see time and time again. It's really unfortunate because the FAA has so many challenges right now. We're talking about drones. We're talking about an increase in traffic. We're talking about a shortage in pilots. We're talking about all kinds of things that are ongoing right now. So as a result, you really need somebody there that's going to give you some sustained leadership for a period of time. And Bill, right now we don't have it. So I'd love to see somebody in there who A, knows what they're doing, and B, that's going to be there for a while. So we'll have to wait and see which way things go.
Wow. All right. Anything on hub delays these days? We've got hurricane season.
Yeah. I'm really reaching here because, I've got to say something. Maybe Tampa after 5 o'clock, it's going to be, this whole week has just been, last week into this week, has been a great time to travel. We certainly want that to continue. But Tampa may see some late day issues. There is some rain across the country, but fortunately it's not impacting any major hubs at this point. And I don't think today's going to have any issues. So if you pick today, give yourself a pat on the back. You picked a good day to fly.
And always a good day to talk to you, Jay. We'll talk to you again next week. Appreciate it, pal. God bless.
Looking forward to it, pal.
All right. We'll be right back. And here we are.
I actually really love the segments with Jay. He's hilarious.
He is.
Just wanting someone at the FFA to be qualified. I mean, that's hard to ask these days.
Especially in the cockpit. You really want somebody qualified. You don't want to sit there and say, well, they need diversity. No. They need people who know how to fly the plane. And this cretin that they've got that they're trying to put in charge of the FAA is unbelievable. I mean, asking questions that I thought my 7-year-old grandson would be able to answer. Well, we're not really familiar with that. Is what we kept getting. It's sad.
Yeah, these hearings are really sad when you look at the candidates that they're putting up.
Yeah, for real. Meanwhile, how about the candidates we were putting up and looking at for superintendent of the new Savannah Chatham County school system, or the new superintendent for the old Savannah Chatham County public school system?
Yeah, and normally we, get a final 3 or, something along those lines.
I heard there were about over 50 applications.
Yep, there was.
They narrowed it down. Last I heard it was down to 4. And you said they've already come up with
They're voting on someone. The finalist is Denise Watts. Her last position was in North Carolina in the Charlotte School District, and she was there. She's been there since 2021. That's a little concerning to me. She's already jumping ship from, I think, 2 years in a school system. I don't know that the biggest impact could be made there. I think it would be really hard to rate her.
Previously, wasn't she with another school system for only 2 years?
Yes. I believe that she was with, it's in between Houston. She was also in the Houston School District, which was the time before that. So, and that was where she had a lot of her tenure, as well as she's been in, I think, 4 school systems since 2015. Her longest stint was from 2015 to 2019.
Seems to be a bit red flag for me.
I just don't know how much of an impact you can make in 2 years on a school system, and why you would continue to hop around like that. Especially, I would think that the Houston school system would be a feather in someone's cap. Pretty significantly. So Savannah seems like an odd choice, except for the fact that we are the highest paying superintendent in the country, from what I understand. So, or one of the
pretty
top
good.
5.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Bryan County comes along right with that. The school board over there, and they just had there were some pictures today of the new Richmond Hill high school that they are building now that looks like the Taj Mahal. So I know that the scores will be skyrocketing for that. But the Bryan County school system, they voted themselves a $10,000 pay raise each for their school board a couple of years ago, and gave the superintendent a $100,000 raise, making him the highest paid superintendent of a school board that size in the country. So I'm sure that Chatham County comes pretty close. So we pay them a pretty handsome salary. You could live on it if you had to.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of, I guess for me, the superintendent, their main role, one of the things that there was an interview last night with some of the school board members that are excited about her. I'm just skeptical, and I think that it's just because we are in such a bad way in Chatham County, and I would think that we would need someone a little bit stronger in accomplishments. They have said that she's turned around a school system. I really haven't seen that in the data that I've seen, at least not significantly. She was in the Charlotte Mecklen schools, and then before that, Central Secondary Zone Superintendent, and then before that, Shipman Spow Community Academy. She was a principal. So she had, I'm trying to think of the name of the program. It's called like LIFT. Yeah, LIFT. Was one of the programs that was a failure under her. She was very sad about it, which I would be very
sad too if I was a failure.
But that's the thing. It's like they spend money on these programs that really like have had no success, and we continue. I guess we give them credit for trying. I don't know, Bill. I'm
for effort.
Well, I'm very frustrated because I was talking to someone yesterday, and they were in court, and they were in juvenile court, and they were helping the 16-year-old with his case, and, he had to read everything to him because he really didn't comprehend what was going on. He didn't know what the word arraignment meant. He's 16 years old. He should know what arraignment means. Especially if you're committing crimes, you should know. And, Bill, he already has a child. He's 16 years old, and he's impregnated a second woman. This is a problem, and education has everything to do with someone's success. So I'm very skeptical of them bringing in the superintendent. We'll see what happens, but
if you're going to turn around a school system, there should be a track record, and I don't know how you can do it in 2 years. And her tenure in the last 2 positions has been 2 years.
Correct.
So 2 years each.
Yeah, so I'm not really sure what they're going off of, but they seem to have a lot of talking points regarding that. And Steve says, what's her all-important DEI and ESG score? I think that's exactly where we're headed in Chatham County. We've already been in the hole there, and I don't see it stopping. So very unfortunate.
No, especially when you've got DEI. Chick-fil-A has now caved in.
Yep, everyone is on the wagon, but Bill, you also have to understand that these companies are being forced into this because that's how they get their funding is based off of these scores. The government needs to stay the heck out of stuff. That's all I have to say, and that's why we should not have raised the debt limit.
I can remember my good friend Dick Berman of Thunderbolt. He used to own Thunderbolt Guns, and he was having trouble during when the Dolly bomber was in. He was having trouble getting funding for buying inventory, and one of the banks told him, "said Well, we didn't realize that you were a firearms dealer." He said, "What was the name Thunderbolt Guns confusing about?"
Maybe they thought like these guns, you know.
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah, I suppose. All right, coming up next.
You know, there was a shark that saved a turtle, according to the internet.
Yes, sirree. If you want to think how bad the state of education is, wait till you see this.
Who is a kid? Well, that's a kid. And another. Look, a gaggle of them. Or is it a herd? Litter? Pride. But what about her? Tell her she's not a kid. Or him. So how do we tell who is a kid? Height? Age, maybe. But some of us have to grow up faster than others. A kid. A kid. A kid wants to make the world better. And one day, he just might. Is a kid fearless? Vulnerable? Strong? Nervous? Yes. 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 Kiwanis is 600,000 kids at heart doing all the little and big things it takes to help children around the world. Because kids need Kiwanis. All of them.
Savannah, I'm coming home. Savannah, we'll never be alone. Savannah, the beauty of the world. Savannah, let's all take a walk. Savannah, I'm coming home. Savannah.
When you're looking to buy a business or sell a business, the experts at Best Business Brokers have you covered. Whether you're ready to cash in on your years of hard work or you're taking that first step in buying a business of your own, they're here to guide you through the process and make sure you get the best outcome possible. By having Best Business Brokers assist you when you buy a business or sell a business, they handle the legwork of the intricate process. This ensures a smooth transition of ownership, allowing you to get to work immediately or receive payment for your business as soon as possible. With base operations in Savannah and Charleston, they service all of Georgia and South Carolina. If you're considering starting a business here, the mild winters and 5-tiered economic areas make these the perfect places to do so. If you're ready to buy a business or sell a business, then you're ready to contact Best Business Brokers. Visit their website at b3brokers.com or call at 912-349-0940.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934 with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance. With integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
Come join us today at Sweet Potatoes Kitchen for some of that good Southern home cooking, like fried chicken, fish, and mouth-watering banana pudding. Say it's the best in the world, and you won't get an argument from me. Also, those vegetables are fresh and delicious. Voted Southside's best restaurant in Savannah at least 5 times, and large corporate parties are welcome. Tell them Bill Edwards sent you. Drop by and eat today. Everybody loves sweet potatoes.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Wrapping up the week here on this Thursday, first day of June, first day of hurricane season. And also, First day of, well, our continuing efforts to show you that some people are just have had too much public education. And to give you an idea, here's a video that has gone viral. And it concerns what looks like a shark saving a sea turtle.
Oh my God! Look, a shark is carrying a turtle on the sea, riding the wind and waves. After seeing human ships from afar, the shark worked hard to escort the turtle over. With the assistance of the shark, the turtle struggled to pounce on the steps of the ship. This incredible scene happened to be discovered by the boy on the ship. After confirming the discovery of sea turtles by humans, the shark turned around and left gracefully. The boy believes that the turtle must need help when it actively approaches humans, so he caught the turtle out of the water. Seeing the help of humans, the helpless turtle left tears of emotion. Originally, the turtle's neck was tightly restrained by a thick rope. Warm-hearted boy carefully examined the turtle's wound. Just lightly stroked the turtle's neck. The turtle immediately began to struggle in pain. The boy the turtle up, clearly seen that 2 ropes had been deeply embedded in the flesh. The turtle must be in great pain. It looked at the human beings in front of it with tears in its eyes. Seems to be asking for help quickly. The boy immediately took out the knife, easily cut the first rope. After a moment, the second one was also smoothly cut open. A large amount of fresh air rushed into the turtle's body in an instant. It can finally breathe freely. I really don't know how the turtle fairy passed through such hardships. Heartwarming girl quickly applied imported Yunnan Baiyao to the turtle's wound. Turtles are the long-lived stars. Please light up the little red star. Everyone, pray for oneself and family, and leave a message in the comments section. Great luck for kind hearts, so you will definitely. Shun Feng Shun Shui Shun Kai Shun. After the girl treated the wound on the back, 2 boys flipped the turtle over. Unexpectedly, the infection on the front wound worsened even more severely. Severe swelling, blackening, and emitting a foul odor. If it weren't for meeting these kind-hearted people, in the end, the neck of the turtle fairy will be cut off by the rope. Undoubtedly, he will die as a result. We should apologize to the turtle fairy here. It's the garbage that we humans casually throw away, causing you to almost die. Besides this lucky turtle, how many lives are quietly passing away in the ocean? The girl repeatedly cleaned and disinfected the turtle wound. 2 boys worked together to send the turtle back to the sea. Every plant and plant has a heart, and all things have a spirit. Protecting the ocean starts with me. Let's give a big thumbs up to kind-hearted people.
To say nothing of a kind-hearted shark who said, "Oh, there must be people over there. I only have fins, so I can't help. So these people have hands with opposing thumbs and stuff, so they can fix this turtle." No, that was edited heavily, and of course, it sounded like an AI voice because it repeating, helping the turtles wounds.
So this is the danger of AI. Just for the record, this is not a real video.
No.
This is the danger of AI making something happen that really didn't happen.
Exactly.
And I think it's manipulative. I think this is an extremely manipulative video for us to encourage all of this climate activism that we're seeing.
This is, I think it was like 17 million views within a few hours, and people are falling for it.
Yep.
And you hear the constant all creatures have a heart. And there's this, that, and the other, and so it's just.
And I think it's weird that they use, they have programs now that you can use more humanistic voices. Like the fact that they use the robotic voice over this too, I like.
Yeah,
I don't like it.
And the shark wasn't trying to save the turtle. The shark was trying to eat the turtle. Okay, just to let you know, that's how sharks work.
Is that science, Bill?
Yeah, that's science. Yeah, that's science. So you science deniers, 17 million of you, I know all 17 million didn't fall for this, but there's where we are, and that's what happens. And like you said, the dangers of AI.
Yep, and our friend Steve Staten, he says, "I smell a rat," and he is exactly right. The other thing that Steve said this morning that gave me a giggle, that he said, hey, ho, ho, McCarthy's got to go. And Buddy Carter needs to be put on a rhino status warning. It made me chuckle. I read it during the break, and, good times for all to be had here on Get Real America. So,
for sure.
Oh, Bill, there's so much going on. One of the things, we have a lot of local stuff going on.
We do.
And if you didn't know, we have someone running for DA. His name is Anthony Burton. His first fundraiser is going to be on July 27th. So it's going to be at Matthew B's Eatery. So make sure you check that out. But
He's the real deal.
Yes.
By the way. And he's just outraged about the latest incident from our Soros-funded DA here.
So a man charged with rape and held in jail for 2 years was just released because, and he was deemed a danger to the community. So that's why he was held for 2 years. But he was let out yesterday.
Anymore.
Yeah, because the DA's office was unprepared for his trial and dismissed the case, saying, well, we will just re-indict it again later on, after he's now been released on the street. This is from Anthony Burton. He also said that the DA was...
not a flight risk, I'm sure.
No, not at all. And, of course, yesterday she was in the county commissioner's office asking that board for more money. She says that her office deserves more money than it currently has budgeted, even though it was pointed out that she has almost $500,000 surplus for salaries due to 4 very experienced prosecutors leaving her office this year. Things are getting worse for Chatham County the longer that this DA is in there. I think that she has done a terrible job. I think we've talked about it multiple times on the show. We've had Anthony on to explain kind of what's going on. And the thing I love about Anthony is that he's like, I'm used to giving people bad news, so I'd rather just be upfront about it and not sugarcoat anything, make it, as plain spoken as you can, because that's what people understand. And I think that people are really starting to see the impacts of DA Jones being in charge here.
Yeah, and it's not going to get any better. So by all means, Anthony Burton is the man that you need to talk to.
Yep, and remember, he is running.
Vote for.
Yes, his campaign is launching in July, and we have Soros funding down here because Savannah is a very important city, and they know it. So they're going to be putting a lot of money down here. One of the things I thought was surprising that I also found out yesterday was that Van Jones actually has over $300,000 in his war chest for this
re-election as mayor.
Yep, he sure does. So.
So has a Republican stepped up to the plate yet?
No, I don't know that it would be very difficult for someone to compete with $300,000, especially with no name recognition and not starting at least a year ago in this. So unfortunately, the Republican Party has definitely not recruited great candidates. They have not done the work that they should have been doing. So that is definitely a focus for the party moving forward. You
don't always get what you want, but you always get what you deserve. So just remember that when you go to the polls. And I think Steve Hilton said it best last week on The Next Revolution on the Fox News Channel when he said that Americans will finally get the democracy they want when they realize how they vote affects their lives.
Or that voting is important.
Yeah.
I think that's another issue I have with a lot of people.
Especially on the local level. They always talk about how low the turnout is for the local elections, and when the national elections come along, how much that increases. And it should be the other way around.
It should be, but I do think that there's less money going into these local races, and you're not getting the TV exposure, the billboards, the shiny thing.
Yeah,
right?
Because it's expensive.
It's
to
very
run.
expensive.
And everybody says, take the money out of politics. Well, that ain't going to happen. Money is the mother's milk of politics.
Well, and I think typically for a mayor's race, I think it'd be around $150,000. With something like $300,000, I mean, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, it is.
So
it takes me weeks to make that kind of money.
Yeah,
so,
me too.
But at any rate, that's going to take care of us for this week. Have a great weekend.
Yes, enjoy it, and we'll see you guys on Monday.
And hopefully we'll get the budget situation taken care of by then.
Yeah.
And we won't be defaulting on our loans, so we will be back.